The city of Lagos was a place of dreams, a city where the rich basked in luxury and the poor struggled to survive. Among its bustling streets and towering buildings was a woman who, despite her modest upbringing, had carved a place for herself among the successful. Her name was Ella Williams. Ella was not just beautiful, she was elegance itself. She had the kind of beauty that turned heads in admiration and a heart so pure that she put others before herself. At 28, she had everything a young woman could desire: a good job at an esteemed company, a respectable salary, and a bright future ahead. But if there was one thing that kept her from soaring to greater heights, it was her undying devotion to her family. Born into a poor household, Ella had seen the struggles of her parents and siblings firsthand. She had witnessed days when there was nothing to eat, nights when her mother wept in silence because the burden of poverty was too much to bear. So, when she graduated from university and landed a well-paying job, she made a solemn vow to take care of her family. She did more than just provide, she became their pillar. Her salary, which could have built a fortune for herself, was spent on ensuring her parents and siblings lacked nothing. She paid her siblings' school fees, sent money for household expenses, and fulfilled every request that came from home, no matter how unreasonable. If her mother wanted a new set of cooking pots, Ella bought them. If her father wanted money to repair the leaking roof, Ella sent it. If her siblings wanted new clothes, gadgets, or even money to hang out with friends, Ella provided. But in doing all this, she forgot herself. Ella, you're making a huge mistake. Sophia, one of her closest friends, said as they sat in a cozy cafe one evening. Ella stirred her cup of coffee, a small smile playing on her lips. Sophia, my family comes first. I can't turn my back on them. Helping them is fine, but you've turned yourself into a money machine for them. Their other friend, Olivia, added, do you even have any savings? Ella hesitated. She had no savings. Everything she earned was gone by the end of each month. Sophia shook her head in frustration. Do you realize that Olivia and I, with smaller salaries, have investments? I already bought land last year. Olivia has one too. But you, with your big salary, have nothing to show for it. Because my family needs me, Ella insisted. What if something happens to your job? What if you lose your source of income? Do you think your family will stand by you? Olivia asked. Ella's heart clenched at the thought. She shook her head. My family would never abandon me. They love me. Sophia sighed. Ella, I really hope you never have to find out. That night, Ella lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Her friend's words echoed in her mind. Would her family truly stand by her if she had nothing? Would they still treat her with love and respect if she could no longer provide for them? The thought was unsettling, and so she made a decision, one that would test the very foundation of her family's love. She would pretend to lose her job. She would see for herself if her family's love was genuine or if it was only tied to her financial support. She had spent years giving to them without question. Now, she needed answers, and she was about to get them. It was a cool Sunday evening. The Williams family was gathered outside, enjoying the calm breeze and chatting about the events of the day. Laughter echoed through the compound as Ella's mother, Linda, playfully argued with her husband, Patrick, about whose turn it was to cook dinner. Her younger siblings, Caleb, Rose, and Daniel, were engaged in their usual gossip, talking about school, their friends, and the latest neighborhood drama. Everything seemed normal, just like every other evening. Then, they saw a figure approaching from a distance. At first, they dismissed it. The person was walking slowly, shoulders slumped, carrying what looked like an old, tattered bag. But as the figure drew closer, a cold wave of realization swept through them. It was Ella, but not the Ella they knew. Gone was the elegant woman who always arrived in style, stepping out of her sleek car with grace. The Ella before them looked nothing like the daughter and sister they had admired. Her hair was disheveled, her dress wrinkled and stained with dust, and her once radiant face was filled with exhaustion. Her mother was the first to react. Ella, Linda gasped, rushing towards her daughter. She wrapped her arms around her, her heart pounding in panic. What happened to you? What's wrong? Ella did not answer. She only clutched her bag tighter, her fingers trembling. Her siblings circled around her, staring in shock. Her father remained silent, his eyes narrowing with confusion and disbelief. Without saying a word, Ella walked past them into the sitting room. She let her bag drop onto the floor with a dull thud before sinking onto the cold tiles. Then, she broke down in tears. Raw, heart-wrenching sobs filled the room, shaking her fragile frame. Linda knelt beside her, holding her by the shoulders. Ella, talk to me. What happened? Through her tears, Ella finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. I lost my job. The words sent a ripple of shock through the room. A stunned silence followed. Her father's hands stiffened at his sides. Her mother's eyes widened in horror. Her siblings exchanged glances, unable to process what they had just heard. Ella buried her face in her hands, sobbing uncontrollably. She had sacrificed so much for them her youth, her dreams, her opportunities, all to make sure they never lacked. But now she had nothing, and she had come home to seek comfort from the family she had given everything to. But she had no idea that the real heartbreak was yet to begin. The first night after Ella's return, her mother, Linda, was attentive. She sat beside her daughter, running a hand through her hair as though she was still a child. She sighed dramatically every few minutes, shaking her head as if trying to process the weight of Ella's words. Her father, Patrick, was the opposite. He barely spoke, only grunting occasionally as he sat on his favorite chair, staring into space. Her siblings, however, had a different reaction. Caleb, the second-born, looked bothered, but he said nothing. Rose, the one Ella had been closest to, avoided her eyes. Daniel, the youngest, shifted uncomfortably, looking as if he wanted to be anywhere but in the room. That night, Ella went to bed early, emotionally drained. But by morning, everything had changed. The warmth from the night before was gone, replaced by something else. Something cold, distant, unsettling. It started with small things. At breakfast, Ella reached for a slice of bread, and her mother sighed heavily. I didn't know we'd be feeding an extra mouth now, she muttered, just loud enough for Ella to hear. Ella froze, her fingers hovering over the loaf of bread. She turned to her mother, half expecting to see a teasing smile, a playful smirk, something to indicate that she was joking. But Linda's face was serious. Ella swallowed hard and slowly withdrew her hand. She wasn't hungry anymore. The days passed, and the treatment worsened. Ella had always been the center of the household, the one they all looked up to, depended on, and admired. Now, she was invisible worse. She was a burden. Her father, who once greeted her with warmth, now barely acknowledged her presence. When she tried to sit with him outside, he got up and left without a word. Her mother's words became sharper. Every little thing Ella did seemed to irritate her. Her siblings were the worst. One evening, Ella walked into the backyard and found her younger brother, Daniel, washing clothes. He had always done her laundry when things were good, running to her with excitement whenever she got home, eager to do something for the sister who provided for him. Daniel, please help me wash my clothes, she asked gently. Daniel paused, then slowly looked up at her. The smirk on his face sent a sharp pain through her chest. You must be joking, he scoffed. That was when you were still Ella the Ella with money. Do I look like your houseboy? Ella's heart clenched. She wanted to believe he was joking. She wanted to believe that the boy she had practically raised wasn't speaking to her like this. But he was, and he meant every word. Ella turned away before he could see the tears brimming in her eyes. That night, she lay on her old, stiff mattress and thought about everything she had done for them. The sacrifices, the struggles, the nights she had gone hungry just to send them money. If not for them, she would have traveled with her friends to the USA for her master's degree. She would have bought land, built houses, invested in businesses. She would have been married by now. She had turned down so many suitors because she wanted to take care of her siblings first. She didn't want any men dictating how much she could or couldn't spend on her family. But what had it gotten her? Nothing. Nothing but pain. The next morning, she made a decision. It was time to fix her mistakes. Ella woke up before dawn, her mind made up. She lay on her thin mattress for a while, staring at the cracked ceiling, feeling a mixture of anger and deep disappointment. Everything her friends had told her was true. She had been blind foolishly, desperately blind believing that family would always stand by her, that her sacrifices meant something. She had poured her entire life into them. Every salary she earned had gone straight to her parents and siblings. She had denied herself a future to secure theirs. And yet, the moment they thought she had nothing left to offer, they discarded her like an old, useless rag. No more. She sat up, her jaw tightening. She grabbed her phone and sent a text to her best friend, Vivian. Ella, you were right. Start looking for two plots of land for me. I need to fix my life. I've made too many mistakes already. Vivian's reply came almost immediately. Vivian, finally, it took you long enough. Ella exhaled. It was time to start over. For weeks, Ella endured insults, humiliation, and neglect. Her father barely spoke to her anymore, except when he ordered her to follow him to the farm, something he never would have done when she was providing for them. Her mother complained about everything, her presence, her eating habits, even the way she breathed. Her siblings treated her like a stranger, an inconvenience. But nothing hurt more than what happened on a Wednesday afternoon. Ella had gone to charge her phone at a neighbor's house since she didn't have a charger. When she got there, she saw her younger sister, Rose's, phone already charging. It was at 50%, so she carefully unplugged it and plugged hers in. Moments later, Rose stormed in. What do you think you're doing? She snapped, marching toward Ella. Ella frowned. Your phone has enough charge. Before she could finish, Rose yanked Ella's phone from the socket and plugged hers back in. Ella blinked in shock. Are you serious? Don't touch my things. Rose hissed. Something in Ella snapped. She raised her hand and slapped her sister hard across the face. Rose gasped. For a moment, there was silence. Then, to Ella's horror, Rose slapped her back. And then she attacked her. The two sisters fought bitterly, rolling on the ground as neighbors rushed in to separate them. In the struggle, Rose bit Ella's arm, drawing blood. By the time they were pulled apart, Ella was shaking with fury and heartbreak. She had done everything for this girl, paid her school fees, bought her clothes, sacrificed her happiness for her. And now, all it had taken was one financial setback for Rose to turn against her. Ella stormed home, her arm throbbing from the bite wound. She went straight to her parents and told them everything, expecting them to scold Rose. But instead, her mother frowned at her. Did you buy the charger? Linda asked. Ella's mouth fell open. What? Her father folded his arms. Did you ask for permission before taking it? Ella stared at them in disbelief. Her mother shook her head. You're wicked for beating your younger sister over something so small. Ella's chest tightened. I bought that phone for her. So what? Her mother snapped. You should know by now. I get it before no be property. Ella felt like the ground had been ripped from beneath her feet. She was done. She was done. That night, she packed her things. She had 6 months left of her leave, but she was no longer going to waste them in this house. She was going to start fixing her life. She was going to make sure that by the time she walked out of this place for good, they would all regret ever treating her this way. Ella stood in front of the small, cracked mirror in her room, staring at her reflection. She looked nothing like the woman she had been just a few months ago. Her hair was rough, her once flawless skin looked dull, and there was a tiredness in her eyes that had nothing to do with sleep. She was exhausted, mentally, emotionally, and physically. But that was about to change. She picked up her phone and dialed Vivian's number. The call barely rang before her friend answered. Ella, have you finally decided to leave that place? We are still ballin' in London, Vivian asked without greeting. Ella exhaled. Not yet. But I need you to help me. Find me two plots of land. I don't care how much it costs. I just need to start investing. Vivian chuckled. So you finally see what I've been telling you all these years. Ella closed her eyes, guilt washing over her. I was a fool, Vivian. I put everyone before myself, and now look at me. I've been telling you, Vivian said, family is important, but you have to take care of yourself too. Don't worry, I will find the land for you. Let me get to the agent right away. Just be ready to make the payments. Ella felt relief flood through her. She had wasted so much time, but she wouldn't waste another second. She would build a future for herself, and she would never again let anyone take advantage of her kindness. Days passed, and Ella's suffering only intensified. Her mother treated her like a burden. Her father barely acknowledged her existence. Her siblings ignored her unless they wanted something. One night, as she lay in bed, she overheard her mother whispering to her father. I don't think she ever get another job, Linda muttered. Humph, Patrick grunted. If she's useless now, she might as well go and marry. At least one of those foolish men that used to come around can take care of her. Ella felt her heart shatter. So that was it. After everything she had done, they now saw her as nothing more than an expired investment. She had stayed single all these years because of them. She had rejected good men because she wanted to secure their futures first. And now, they thought she was worthless. Her fists clenched. That was the moment she knew. She was leaving. For good. 6 months later. It was a bright morning when the black SUV pulled into the dusty compound. Ella was sitting on the veranda, watching her mother sweep the yard absent-mindedly. The moment the car entered, the broom slipped from Linda's hands. Her siblings, who had been playing in the yard, froze. Her father, who had been drinking palm wine under the mango tree, straightened up. They all recognized the car. It was Ella's car. The driver stepped out, dressed in a crisp black uniform. He adjusted his cap, walked over to Ella, and bowed slightly. Good morning, Ma. Here's the package you asked for. Ella took the black bag he handed her and stood up. Every eye was on her. She walked inside without a word, leaving her family standing in stunned silence. Her father finally gathered the courage to approach the driver. Hey, young man, Patrick said cautiously. We heard Ella lost her job. The driver gave him a confused look. No, sir, Madam was only on leave. She returned to work last week. Patrick's face paled. Linda gasped, her hands flying to her head. Her siblings exchanged wide-eyed glances. Ella emerged from the house a few moments later, now dressed in a luxurious gown. She looked like the woman she had been before, elegant, confident, untouchable. She stepped onto the veranda and met their stunned gazes. Surprised, she asked, a small smirk playing on her lips. No one said a word. She folded her arms. I did everything for this family. I sacrificed my dreams, my happiness, my future, just to make sure you were all comfortable. And yet, the moment you thought I had nothing left, you turned your backs on me. Her mother opened her mouth, but Ella held up a hand. No, I don't want to hear it. She turned to her father. You didn't train me in school, yet I worked and struggled to make sure you lived well. She looked at her mother. I never lacked before, because I made sure you never lacked. She glanced at her siblings. And you. I put my life on hold for you. I refused to marry because I wanted to set you up first. And how did you repay me? Silence. Ella shook her head, her voice like ice. I will never make that mistake again. She turned and opened the car door, but before entering, she threw one last look at them. Don't ever call my number again. I will help when I feel like it. No more requests, no more demands. Then she got in and slammed the door. The car engine roared to life, and as it pulled out of the compound, Ella glanced at the rearview mirror. Her father had sunk to the ground. Her mother was holding her head. Her siblings looked horrified, and in that moment, she knew. They had finally realized what they had lost. The days that followed were the most peaceful Ella had ever experienced. For the first time in years, she woke up without the weight of her family's problems pressing down on her shoulders. She no longer had to worry about who needed school fees, who wanted a new phone, or who had fallen sick. She was free, and it felt good. Ella spent the first few days resting, something she had barely done in years. She slept in, read books, took long baths, and enjoyed the silence of her home. There were no nagging calls, no guilt-tripping messages, no sudden emergencies that needed her attention. Her estate was peaceful, the kind of peace she had been craving. But she wasn't just going to rest. She had wasted too many years giving everything to people who didn't appreciate her. Now, it was time to build for herself. Ella sat in her home office, her laptop open in front of her. She had already contacted her friend about the 2 plots of land, and within days, the papers were ready. This was just the beginning. She was going to invest, grow her wealth, and secure her future. She had always wanted to own rental properties, and now she was finally going to make it happen. For years, she had listened to her family's endless demands, spending every penny on their needs while her friends built their own assets. Not anymore. This time, she was thinking about herself. Ella clicked through property listings, speaking with agents, negotiating prices. By the end of the week, she had signed off on to pieces of land. And that was just the first step. One quiet afternoon, Ella was sipping coffee on her balcony when the estate security called her phone. "Ma, there are some people here who say they're your family." Ella sighed, already knowing who it was. "Tell them I'm not home." A pause. "But, Ma, they're insisting." "Then let them insist." She ended the call and leaned back in her chair, shaking her head. She wasn't surprised. She had expected them to come crawling back. And now, here they were, desperate. Too bad for them. Ella had already moved on, and this time, there was no going back. For the next 3 days, Ella's family kept trying to reach her. Calls, messages, even unexpected visits to her estate. She ignored them all. Then, one evening, as she was returning from a meeting with her real estate agent, she found them waiting outside the estate gate. Her mother, her father, her 2 younger siblings. Ella remained in her car, watching them through the tinted window. They looked frustrated, hungry, tired, and confused. Good. Let them feel a fraction of what she had felt when they turned on her. After a few minutes, her mother approached the car, knocking on the window. Ella sighed, rolled it down slightly, and stared at her. "Mama, what do you want?" Her mother's eyes were filled with fake concern. "Ella, my daughter. You've abandoned your family. Is that fair?" Ella scoffed. "Abandoned?" She tilted her head. "Mama, do you even hear yourself?" Her mother opened her mouth to speak, but Ella raised a hand, cutting her off. "Where was this concern when I was struggling to survive in that house? When you thought I had nothing, did any of you stand by me?" Her father cleared his throat. "Ella, let's forget the past. We are still family." Ella chuckled bitterly. "Family?" She shook her head. "I was never your family. I was just your provider, your bank." She turned to her driver. "Drive." The car pulled forward, leaving them standing there. Ella didn't look back. She had made up her mind. There was no room for them in her life anymore. Moving forward, days passed. Ella poured herself into her new projects, throwing all her energy into her investments. She partnered with real estate developers, attended business meetings, and started working on expanding her income streams. She was no longer the naive girl who lived for her family's approval. She was now a woman building an empire. One evening, as she sat in her living room, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Ella, please pick my call. It's important." She frowned. Then the phone rang. She let it ring twice before answering. It was her younger brother, Daniel. "Ella, Mama is sick," he said quickly. "She's in the hospital." Ella leaned back, silent. "And?" Daniel hesitated. "We need money for her treatment." Ella sighed. Once upon a time, she would have panicked. She would have rushed to the hospital, spent every penny to make sure her mother was fine. But that was before. "Daniel," she said slowly. "Where was Mama when I was suffering? When I had nothing?" Daniel stammered. "Ella, this is different. She's our mother." Ella smiled coldly. "I know." She ended the call. No more emotional manipulation. No more guilt. She would help them, but on her terms, not theirs. And they would have to learn to live with that. Hello, champions. I hope you enjoyed our stories. Please hit the like button, leave a comment below, and subscribe to our channel. Thanks.